Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you coming to the council meeting tonight. I have an announcement to make as soon as we get through the opening remarks, and then we'll proceed on with the meeting. If you would, please, will you do the invocation for us?
Yes, sir. I volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you again and we
First,
say,
could we ask you to do a prayer for Mr. Libby?
You jumped the gun on me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I figured we'd do it.
Go
while
ahead.
we do.
Go ahead. She's got this.
Father, we come to you and we say thank you that we can come to you. We can ask you, Lord, for help, guidance, and even healing, God. God, we thank you that we have you to come to. Thank you, God, for this wonderful state, this wonderful nation, God, this city that we live in. We come now, God, and ask you to come and meet Mr. Libby's need, whatever it may be, God. I don't know, but you do. So we come tonight and bring his petition before you, Lord, and ask you to be gracious and help him in his time. Be with us in this meeting tonight, God. Bless our councilman, our mayor, God, all those involved, God. Give them the wisdom and knowledge it needs, God, so we can make the right decisions for this, your city. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Brother Chapel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So,
I didn't mean to. I
that's
didn't know
okay.
you were going to do that.
I talked to, for those of you that do or do not know, Bill, Mr. Libby had a medical issue this week and was transported, I'm told, to a hospital in Pensacola. According to his daughter, I spoke to her briefly today and basically told her if there was anything we could do, I would do it for her. And she said that he is conscious, but he can't talk right now. And she said that she'd keep us up to date, and I don't know who she's going to call. Could be you, Miss Purdue, I don't know. But just wanted to let everybody know that didn't know that Mr. Libby's was ill. And so I appreciate you, Pastor.
Thank you.
And if anybody else has anything in their prayers to think about Bill Libby.
Is he at HCA?
He's in Pensacola.
He's in Pensacola.
I don't know if it's ACH. I can find out for you, but I would say he's at the trauma unit. That would be whoever that is.
Understood.
I don't know if he went to Bay and then they flew him to Pensacola. I don't know how he got there. They did fly him. Who said that? Okay, they did fly him to Bay, or from Bay to Pensacola? Yeah. Okay. Well, then it won't be hard to figure out because my daughter may have been in a helicopter. So, all right, sounds good. All right, well, so if you call a roll, please.
Miss Barrett?
Yes.
Miss Barrow?
Here.
Mr. Chappell?
Here.
Mr. Haney? Mayor Kelly?
Yes, I am here. First item is to approve the minutes from the July the 16th meeting.
I make a motion that we approve as presented.
As written?
I'll second it.
Got a second. When you call a roll, please.
Miss Barrett?
Yes.
Miss Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Mr. Haney? Mayor Kelly?
Yes. The only thing that's, first of all, the non-agenda items that are going to change tonight is item 1 is going to be removed from the agenda and will be reinstalled on the next council meeting. 30 days. 30-day extension. Okay. And
Is there a list of items that's up for grab?
Oh, we hadn't got to that part yet.
we haven't got there yet, sir.
Which agenda item was that?
That was the first one.
The very first one.
Yeah, it's the
It's on,
That right there.
outbid for the opening bid for the Outfalls John. It's
Gotcha.
Mr. Summerlin needed a little bit more time. There was a couple things I had to fix.
Understood.
And item 2 is the Second Street parcel split, JD Development. We read this last time, but there was nobody here. Is there anybody here tonight? Come to the podium if you would.
Yes, sir.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Adam Johnson, 2nd Street, parcel number 27.
Council, in your packages, you should see what Mr. Johnson is asking for. Okay. Any questions, council?
just, how big of a house is you building?
Those are about 1,800 square feet.
1,800?
2,000, yes.
And you
Two
put them on
stories.
a 90-foot frontage think that's roughly 80.
Oh, yes, sir, they're 40 wide footprints.
Yeah, 89.6 or so.
Yes, sir, there'll be 2-story homes there. I think the one you're looking at there, Lou, is the Lake Drive. Is that the, no, that's the, yes, sir, that's 2nd Street. That's the first lot of 2nd Street split, yes, sir.
This isn't West Street.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, we bought, 2nd Street, it was 2 parcels, then we did a lot line adjustment and just a lot split on each one. It would be a total of 4 lots there.
Well, I'll make a motion, we go ahead and allow them to split the lots.
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second to allow the lot split. We call roll, please.
Ms. Barrett?
Yes.
Ms. Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Got some pretty houses. Okay, item 3 is Mr. Summerlin, NEPDES.
Good evening, council. This is basically just a public forum, public meeting to get the word out about NetBiz. We have 2 of these scheduled every year. And that's pretty much what it is, to basically let people know that NetBiz is National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, and it also is a stormwater management program. We oversee all the outfalls, the drains, the ditches, anything that flows to the bays. I have some packets here. I think, do y'all have these in your packets?
They do.
Did you have these? This is just some information I was gonna give out to the audience. Anybody has any questions or concerns, they can contact Public Works. But it's basically just letting you know that I'll be back again for another one of these in October. We have Cleanup Day. Our annual Cleanup Day is in October. I believe it is the 12th. That's where we ask all the citizens to help us clean in front of their properties, their ditches and their waterways. Also, the documents have the phone number in there for Adopt a Drain, if they would like to come and adopt a storm drain or a ditch by their area and need supplies or materials, we'll help with that. Or if they just want to call and notify the city to let us know, hey, this ditch needs attention, there's stuff in there. You know, the number one concern we're getting right now is a lot of people are dumping kitty litter in the drains and in the ditches, and we've gotten several complaints of that so far this year. We've been trying to track it down, but for some reason, people are disposing a lot of kitty litter in the ditches. So we ask if people see this so they can report it, if they might know who it is, report it, so we can address it and just ask for it to stop. Basically, like I said, this is just an informational thing. If any of the citizen has a question about stormwater or anything, this is kind of an open forum right now. And then if the council member has any questions about it, like I said, we are doing our best we can do to control the growth of the weeds in the ditches. As fast as we cut them, they're growing. We are trying to also use some herbicides to try to keep the growth down so we can stay on top of it a little bit faster. But we are doing the best we can right now to keep that maintained.
Thank you, Mr. Summerlin.
Can you update us on the Holmes property where the storage facility dumps their drainage off on the Holmes property?
So about Mr. Holmes's retention pond?
Well,
No,
if you
over
want to
here.
call it that.
Were you talking about right down here?
No, he's talking about behind.
Behind the
Oh,
old-
behind the window.
yeah.
Yeah, so basically, the storage unit does not own that retention area. That retention area is owned by Mr. Holmes.
Correct.
U-Haul owns the other retention area now adjacent to it, so they're responsible for maintaining their retention area that's behind their unit. But as of right now, they're both those stormwater systems are privately owned.
So he's okay with stormwater dumping off on his property?
Well, he won't release it to the city, and he won't
Right.
give it to the city unless we trade him land.
So what it is, John, I've asked him like 9 times, please let me clean up the pond, right? Clean up the retention. And if you look on North Lakewood, you'll see where the road is split because of this failing to be maintained.
Correct.
And people can't get in and out of their driveways right here. So that canal, that was a back end dock down there to start with an overflow pond. And it doesn't get properly maintained. Now, Bobby will probably argue that he changes and cleans it out. It used to be 20 feet deep. I know it to be a fact. Now it's probably 4. So I've asked him several times to please give that to the city. You don't have to think about it no more. We'll fence it in. We'll take out the storm debris. We'll take out the trees. We'll take out everything that blocks that pond, because the way it drains, it's not just the field, it's the houses on Nancy Drive and stuff flow into that pond. And it's supposed to go out to the right and go into a drainage ditch, but it can't because it's so blocked up. And what I would like is for him to just give it to us, and we'll take over maintenance of it. But he wants something in return that we don't have to give. He wants me to give him the dentist's office that used to be there on the corner. That was his last request. And I'm not giving that up, because if we ever get that piece of real estate that he won't clean out or is slow to clean out, we can cut out where that dental office was and extend that canal around the side of that building, and that will give us a retention pond for the future. This is our plan anyway, but it's stuck in limbo because he doesn't want to do it.
Well, my concern is that business should have their own retention
They should.
pond
They should.
and not rely on somebody else's property for their runoff and drainage to go off into.
Right?
I've thought that for years and years,
Yep.
and I don't think it's right. I think they should facilitate their own retention pond on,
Yep.
on their own property.
I agree, but where? That's the question. Where would we ask them to do that? Do you have a clue?
That's, like I
There's
said,
nothing
that's-
left.
You know, their stormwater literally runs into U-Haul's
Retention
ditch
pond.
now.
Right.
U-Haul owns the ditch.
Right. And we're going to own it eventually, right?
No.
We're not
No,
now.
That's U-Haul's property. That's
Okay,
their
I thought they
parking
were
lot.
going to give it to us.
Well, we're talking about the front parking lot.
Oh, the front parking lot.
The
Okay.
front parking lots, both parking lots run to the center and the front ditch.
Yeah.
And U-Haul owns all that.
Right.
And they own in between the buildings, and they own the pipe going
It goes
to
under the
retention
ground,
pond.
under the building. Yeah.
Does U-Haul have a plan to put a retention pond in themselves?
U-Haul has a secondary one. Like I said, they don't own Mr. Holmes's, but right next door, they have dug out the entire back and
It's a canal.
fixed their retention pond.
Right.
Behind the skating rink, there's another pond there now.
I see.
It's actually worth a trip to look at. The thing is huge. It goes on and on and on and on
Well-
along the back.
Well, you can't have a business benefiting off of somebody else's property for the runoff.
Well, I
That's
don't
a
know if they
EPA
care.
violation.
I don't know if they care or not.
Well, we should care because that's an EPA violation.
Right?
That's my,
Has the
that's
EPA ever targeted those guys and gave them a ticket?
I've tried calling EPA
Yeah.
before on this project years ago. Never
Okay.
returned a phone call.
It's not a permitted pond. It's not a permitted
It's just
facility.
it's just a
So
thing.
they're really not. There's nothing they're involved with.
They're not grandfathered in either for this kind of
Right, you
situation
can't get
because I was under
grandfathered in for
construction
EPA
back in
violations, right.
2016, 2017.
Right, right.
So that they should make steps to build their own
I
retention
think
pond.
I think the only
maintain
teeth that
it.
we're going to have is if they come to us for a future development. That's when we're going to be able to step in and help.
Because then we can make the change. Yeah.
And I foresee with the growth of Parker that they will be coming for something.
Usually that parking lot, probably.
Well, the parking lot and where the old bagel maker was.
Right.
But I think that's just my feeling. I think the only time that we're going to have any leverage to make them do anything is when they submit a
It's
development.
if they ask for a change. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know an answer. It's because it's not ours. I've asked him so many times,
Understood.
and we would fix it. I would
Yeah,
get
so
in there. Tony's got the machinery and equipment and the manpower.
We've offered to maintain it and take it from him, and like I said, but he literally wants a piece of City of Parker real estate.
And
for the-
I'm
for
not
the
willing to
swamp.
give up nothing to take over that.
Understood.
But the problem is, John, it runs out of that pond in different locations, and it's all blocked up. It's not maintained. And if we owned it, Mr. Sumlin and his men would keep that thing dug down. It'd take them a while the first time, but then once they got it done, then we would have a drainage solution for some of those folks. I mean, the last bad storm event last year, I literally walked on Nancy Drive in knee-deep rainwater, and it would not drain. And it's on. I don't know if I filmed it or not, but we walked out there in knee-deep drain water, and it wouldn't go nowhere because darn pond was not.
Well, my personal opinion is arguable, but if they would have their own retention facility, we wouldn't have to spend millions of dollars on retention ponds, on Lake Drive, Lundy property, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But, I mean, it seems like we're benefiting this company where they should be taking care of their own.
Right.
That's my opinion.
And I
But,
agree.
I mean,
And
Tony might be able to argue that point, but
I just,
Well, I mean, like I said, we've had this debate before, and I've tried to tell you, Mr. Haney, that none of the stormwater crosses Hickory Street.
right.
So everything on Hickory Street is flowing to Tyndall Parkway. There's no ditches that carry the stormwater from Hickory Street down 11th Street. They stop on that corner lot. There's no, when you look at the corner of 11th Street and Hickory, there's no ditch to carry any of that water around 11th Street.
Right.
Down the thing. Everything goes to the watershed in Callaway and DOT.
yeah,
And the
water.
problem is, it's the pipes in DOT under a rain event can't handle the volume. And you have to wait 45 minutes to an hour and then it'll subside.
There it goes down, yeah.
I would like for you to put the storage facility under a microscope and see what's going on there.
Understand?
Okay.
Thank you.
We can do that, John.
Awesome.
All right, brother. We'll come back in, what, 60 days to give him an update on what we found?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we will do our checking on to find the runoff. You know, I mean, like I said, we know there's a lot of runoff there. We know their retention, we know their ramp holds and fills up full of water. you
Right.
know. But I know when the Gilberts designed that pond behind that subdivision, everything from Nancy and Terry and everything from North Lakewood has catch boxes draining into that
Correct.
retention
It
pond on
does.
the north end. And then U-Haul and the storage facility.
Roller
drains
skating
in on
rink
the
and all
east
gets
end.
the other end, yeah.
And then it all comes in comes out the west end and then comes all the way around Nancy. Nancy unfortunately goes under waters because all the water from the north is leaving down Nancy.
Well, Mr. Holmes told me personally at one time that Walmart was the dirt underneath that property was undermined
Oh, it was.
six
It
foot
was.
deep.
It was.
He
It
could
was
walk, he
8
could walk
feet.
up underneath it,
And that's a fact.
and they pumped concrete in under that building.
That's a fact.
Which is a big no-no itself. But,
That is a fact. I personally saw it with my own eyes.
right.
After the hurricane, there was a hole taller than a human man stand under the house, under the building, and they pumped it under there. They did.
It was before the hurricane.
It was before Hurricane Michael. It was before
after,
that.
After Hurricane Michael, there was a huge hole in the center of the building.
Yeah,
Correct.
it was. It was massive, right in the middle.
Well, like I said, we'll keep an eye on it and document what we can find on it. Does anyone have any questions about ditches, stormwater?
It's a tough subject, man.
We'll come have a meeting.
I'm happy with my ditch, but I'm just not happy where the water goes.
My questions on the stormwater runoff, again, is it's coming on my private property, and now that you've done Cherry Lane, retention pond there, where is it dumping into, and is it crossing the road onto my private property?
That's
The
good.
last rain we had a lot of mud, and I went and checked it, and I made sure that the, Melendez property wasn't dumping. They've done a very good job over there. I talked to Bobby a few times, nice guy, told him I'd let him know if I saw mud. It seems like now that the retention pond on Cherry Lane that wasn't there, which the city bought to relieve the water from Cherry Lane, is burdening the water on my property, which I've actually tried to offer the city, like we're talking about this other person wanted something for the city. I don't want anything. I noticed that y'all did come down and clean the ditch running down through my property. I'm not sure where the responsibility of the city is on private property.
Well, there is an easement that goes through there now. As far as exactly where the boundaries are, we just try to maintain where the natural flow of water is going.
And I know what the easements are. There's 3 easements. There's one on the front storage building and 2 of the 1 acre lots that cross. It's 325 feet from the road. And it's probably.
There's one easement that carries it from the drainage ditch all the way to the spit of the bank.
Okay, but it runs through my private property.
Right, it's an easement.
Yeah, and I don't want anything. You talk about people that want something for the city to do something, but it's still, what about Cherry Lane? Where's it dumping?
Well, we're still talking about the same water. We're just talking the fact that Cherry Lane's water is not now conveying right into a storm box, right down a ditch, right under the road, down your property. Now we're talking about the stormwater from Cherry Lane going into a retention pond for treatment, for fallout, to where if it ever has a major rain event, then it will maximize and come over the weir into the same ditch that it was already leaving that site from, going under the same path under the road that it was pre-existingly going.
So in other words, they're relieving the water that was flooding
Same
Cherry
water.
Lane in.
Same water.
Same water.
Same water. The only thing we've done now is put in a treatment measure to, unless we have an 8-inch rain event or a 5-inch rain event to where it's gonna overflow that pond and maximize and make it come over, then it's not gonna come over. All the water's gonna go into that treatment pond off the road runoff. The drain box is still in the middle of Cherry Lane. The center green space will still run into the drain box. That drain box will go into the ditch right beside boat race and still flow normally. It's just all the road runoff, all the ground runoff will go into a treatment pond, and we'll have time to drop out before it leaves, so it can leave as clean as it can be.
Well, you say there's an easement that runs all the way from, boat race all the way to the bay.
Yes.
I've never seen that actual easement other than the sewer line easement that runs up through my land, which is fine.
Well, you have to, Mr. Sloan might be able to help me on this. Some of these easements back in the day were so misconstrued by the county as where they called them sewer utility or whatever, but mainly most of the easements were captured as a utility easement for water, sewer, stormwater, any purpose of, because I know you're saying it's a sewer easement, but you know there's no sewer there. So it could have been storm sewer, as in stormwater sewer.
But it actually has a dimension,
I understand, but it still goes from that ditch to the bay.
but it's not within the dimensions of the right of way and what the easement is. That you'll have 3 of them coming off the road that has the dimensions of the easement.
Well, the first 3 are owned by the state.
Okay.
Well, you know this. The DOT owns the first 3. DOT
Yeah,
is
that's what I'm talking about.
DOT
First
is the manager of that ditch. All the stormwater coming down the FDOT goes into that pond, which goes across your property. So just as much as us, the state FDOT is responsible for that.
And I wanna work with the city. I'm not, I'm
Well, I
always
understand,
trying
but I
to,
don't- I don't-
let's try to figure out a way to clean it up.
I mean,
'cause
the
our
only way-
lane's full of mud.
Council, the only way I can answer his question is if the city wants to pay for surveys to find out where all these easements physically are on his property.
Also, that's
GIS may be able to get us an approximation.
Yeah.
So I can send you those or whatever. I've tried, especially the sewer one that goes to the bay. I've tried, but the problem is it's a very wooded, pulling points and everything, getting it. It's a very difficult area to navigate.
But
to
it
get
was
points.
surveyed. Anchor, whoever surveyed it, remember a few years ago, and I asked
They
you
didn't
for a
survey the
copy.
easements. They only surveyed the water line.
Yeah, and I asked for a copy
Because
of
that's what
it.
that is up there. That's what they surveyed, was the easement on Grand Place.
But they walked all the way through it to the bay.
Understand?
And,
Yeah.
and I asked for
But they
a
didn't
copy.
survey your boundaries. They didn't survey
Yeah, I
any of
understand.
the city's easements.
But I asked for a copy of it since they came through my property, and I never received a copy. I'd like to at least see what that is,
Okay.
just for my own.
Well, my understanding is, like I said, I'll give you a copy of what they have up on that map, but what they surveyed was the parameters of the 3-foot silt removal that they're gonna remove. So, like I said, I'll see what points they have off of your property, but on that, they just navigated the FEMA directions of 3 foot out of that outfall.
And I realize this property is, honestly, is not buildable. I know that. I've got property that I can't ever put anything on, but I'd like for it to be cleaned up for us, you, and there's also that easement that runs through my land with a drainage ditch. It actually splits 3 1-acre tracts of my private property. I'd almost like to see about getting a pipe in there so I could connect my property back. I've got 3 1-acre lots on Luther that crosses the ditch and actually has the sewer easement on these lots, but I can't, these properties are split because of the ditch now.
Okay, well, this might be an agenda item that y'all wanna, I can, put a narrative together and y'all can have discussion with Mr. Brandon on how y'all would like to proceed with his issues.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Summerlin. Let's
Yeah, thank y'all.
go.
Yes,
What-
I got another issue there on Ethelyn Road while we on the stormwater stuff. At the church at the corner of Ethelyn and 98. What's ever gonna be done about that situation?
They were just code enforced.
I'm gonna defer to.
They were
Larry on that.
code
He's got
enforced
more
last
information
week.
on that one.
Pardon?
They were code enforced last week.
To build the retention pond?
The code enforcement officer is gonna force them to follow the plans that they did at that church and at the church across the street. They are both being code enforced because they're not compliant with the land development regulation.
Because, you know, of course, the other mayor, Mr. Musgrave, lived back in the point and all, and I'm pretty sure people that's been around is aware that he actually, there is a ditch that runs underneath Ethelyn Road,
There is.
and he dammed it up.
Well, actually, what happened there, so I can explain that for you. So what happened was, there's actually an open mitered in right there, and they drain the fall across the right of way over to another grate system.
Yep.
So once it gets to capacity, it's supposed to overflow and run back across the south of his property. It is. Well, the whole back's gotta be graded down.
So my question is on this, is that ditch, if Parker has maintained that ditch that went across his property ever since I've lived here, since '92, y'all always maintained that ditch. So I'm assuming that was an easement.
We have a 20-foot drainage easement.
Okay, and me and Mr. Barker has butted heads before. We said it's not an easement and all this. Well,
Right where, if you're standing right where that drain is,
Yes.
it's 10 feet to the left, 10 feet to the right. That's the center of it. We haven't disturbed anything because we didn't want to cause any erosion or anything more than what's
but
got.
To go into the canal.
He's dammed it up, and at one particular time, there was 22 inches of water standing in the middle.
You're right. It was,
We got it undammed.
yeah.
And y'all argued with him, and I think Mr. Musgrave wound up putting a stop work order on that man because he wasn't complying with everything. And Mr. Creel is the inspector that was over all that, and I've talked to him several times. Most of his inspections has never even been closed on that
So,
particular.
I can't speak to Mr. Creel, but I will tell you that a week ago, the code enforcement officer code enforced that piece of property. Now, I don't know what day. I gave him the instructions to get it done, and he told me he had taken care of it. Now, he's not here this week, so I can't ask him. And the other church across the street, to keep it fair, he's gonna code it also. They've gotta put a water retention pond in the back, and they gotta put a fire protection system in.
What other church?
Mr. Pastor Davis's church. Because you can't do it for one and not all, right? Would you agree? Same rule applies to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you,
I just know because I live right there on that.
yeah, but now we've told you about him.
It's under code, like I said, and then when it got dammed up, the city made them remove the dam, but the drainage pipe has been put across the right of way.
Right.
And the 20-foot easement hasn't been addressed anymore. It's gonna be on the city, the
So,
20 foot across the back.
You can call the pastor of the church on Athlon, and he'll tell you, I've tried to work with him. I have tried to work with him.
Yeah, I've
And
met
I-
him at the paper mill. I know what kind of fellow you dealing with.
And- Well, if you ever sit behind this desk, you'll do that every day. Every day. You can't make everybody happy even when they're wrong. But that dirt is going to be leveled on that property.
You know, me and you talked election day, if you remember.
I do remember.
In the middle of the road, and you said 2 weeks.
Yep.
You know, and it's
I was naive, sir. You ever been to court? I go to court all the time.
I understand.
All the time.
You know,
You can't make everybody happy.
I understand, but my
I work on a 95% rule. If 95% are happy, then I'm probably doing a pretty good job.
see where we was at
So-
in that situation.
So the way it works is when that water goes under the Athlon flooded terrible at one time. It's supposed to fan out across that field.
Literally closed it up.
So what happens is, if you may notice, he just put that silt fence back up. Because one of the things that he won't get done is to get the dirt level, okay? And then what happens is it goes into the canal and it goes down and comes out on Jimmy's property, and
Right here by his
it
house.
does, it fills it in slowly. That's why we're doing the cleanup, right? But how do you make people do something they can't afford to do? All right? This never should have been allowed in the beginning. All of the retention, all of the fire protection, all of the pre-planned action in both churches should have been completed before the projects were started. Before my time, I did not allow that, okay? So I've found a solution, hopefully found a solution. If not, the code enforcement officer will enforce the land development regulation. He will. Because it has to be one rule for everybody, not one rule for one and one rule for somebody else. And that's where we're at with this particular piece of property. So last week, you may have noticed, he took the retention fence and picked it up out of the ground and moved it all around. The FDEP said really cutting the grass would be bad because it would not slow down the sediment going into the canal during heavy rainstorms. That's probably true, right? But it's still got to be fixed because he's got those mounds of dirt. Now my understanding is that once those mounds of dirt are leveled, he's supposed to put a drainage pipe in there or something, Tony, what?
He's got a couple drainage pipes that he's got to put on the state road for access to his
Property.
and then the retention pond basically just has to be formed and shaped for his runoff to
Right.
be
So
captured.
what'll happen is that he'll get coded and it won't get done because you can't afford it. So we'll go through the process and we'll end up doing it and we'll take him to court.
He was having a bunch of money from other churches give to him.
Yeah, it's,
And,
sir,
and it was not going to where it was supposed to be going, and that's why he's in the position that he's in right now, because he didn't use the other church's money properly.
I can't, I don't know.
So, I mean, I know you deal.
I have to
with
go
him
by
all-
the facts in
and
front of me.
I used to deal with him at the paper mill, so I know him very well. And he don't do nothing that's supposed to be done by the right way.
So he gets coded and we get the mud in the bayou. It's pretty much what it is.
He gets coded and I don't know how the mud's gonna get in the bayou, but if we clean it up, we're gonna put a sediment net to catch it.
Another
Cause I say to you again, never should have been built, neither church should have been built until the infrastructure was applied first.
I agree, but there, you know, what's done is done now, but, I know Mr. Creel said that the site elevation, he's hauled all this dirt in, and he's already wasn't supposed to do all that.
Right.
You know, he hauled asphalt in one time, and
Well, if you remember, that property was as deep as it is across the street at Cherry Lane. Cause that was a bayou. You remember when it was one big bayou? It just was. And that's why it sold for 40 grand, cause it wasn't of no value.
it never was really wet.
It was whole. I didn't mow it down that canal before.
Low, but it never was, as long as that ditch went across that piece of
It was fine.
It never did, it never, cause my son rode motorcycles there and everything else
That's right.
when Mr. Dickens owned it. And so it was.
So, from my perspective, from the city's perspective, that's where we're at. The code is in play. Our code officer is a very serious man. He will do the job the way it's got to be done. We have 2 or 3 other jobs that when he gets back from his annual leave that we're going to get taken care of that have been in play for 20 years. And we're going to finally get them taken care of. And this one will be taken care of. Both of them will be taken care of.
Just gotta start somewhere.
Yep.
Quick question, on the big drainage pond by, Cherry, is that a wet pond or a dry pond?
They're both gonna be wet ponds.
So
There's actually 4 ponds. So you've got a wet pond next to Cherry Lane, you've got the big wet pond, and then you're gonna have 2 dry ponds next to the parking lot.
Okay,
So all the parking lot runoff has to go into their ponds, and then they'll move over to the big pond or they'll percolate.
so is the wet pond similar to like the design of the fulcrum, so there is, 2 different levels of, water, where it ties in?
Where the sediment stays in the pond while it overfills, yeah.
So our pond will have a water fountain in the middle of it to irrigate it, to help with evaporation, plus our pond also is gonna have a pump on it. All the irrigation and everything being performed on there is gonna be done off of the pond's water. So all the irrigation and sprinkler you'll see out there going on will be pond's water.
Okay, that's cool, but the specific question is there in the fulcrum on their wet pond, they had a series of pipes that when the water reached a certain level, some of the water was going directly into the sources. Was there a connection like that? Outflow?
I don't know what you're referring to as far as the Fulton project going to the sewer system. No stormwater.
Nothing goes into the storm system.
Nothing goes in the sewer system.
It goes into the drainage. It goes,
Drainage system, that's what, I'm sorry, wrong verbiage.
Right, now there is a weir, to
Okay.
where when the pond gets to a certain elevation.
It
will go into
overfills.
The drain box. and
Okay,
then
good.
out.
All right, that was my question.
and that's how your sediment is separated.
Okay, perfect, thank
Yeah,
you.
so we're hoping by this project that we're gonna alleviate a huge amount of sediment moving down Mr. Brandon's area.
Do y'all plan on doing anything like, digging it back out there by his property and along through there, any dredging right through there?
Well, we've had several discussions about trying to dig this ditch for Mr. Brandon, but it's been pushed back both ways. We've had citizens against it, and some for it, some against it. We've had council, some for it, so some against it. So it's kind of a standoff, you know, because other people don't want the ditch dug out because they don't want the water to run straight into the bay with no kind of drag filtration.
There's no riprap that way.
You know, but
Well, what it's done now is done filled in the little bayou that, you know, I keep a boat at, and behind his place, you know, all that's filled in now, so you can't.
well, I mean, you're not the only one. And Mr. Brands isn't the only one. You know, what we're doing with the project right there is we're trying to get 3 foot of all the silt at all the bad locations from the hurricane removed. But as far as a full-on dredge, that will be something that the city council will have to take on, or we will have to look for grants because it's so expensive.
Yeah,
My understanding is that they're gonna dig it all the way out to the old pass, and open the old pass at the same time. And we'll have marlin in the bay and sailfish and all that kind of stuff back in the bay again. That's my understanding.
How about crawdads? Could you at least bring us some crawdads?
Some of those are protected. We won't go there.
Not only that, we discovered today that if you take sediment out of a ditch, you can't just use it as sediment and dirt for someplace else. You got to bury it somewhere that's authorized.
Because it's contaminated.
Because it's contaminated with dirt. That's that contaminated dirt from all them marlin doing whatever they do in the bay. But that's what they told us today.
And
So we're
that's
working
what
on it.
happens on my land when it runs across the road. It has-
Well, the contamination
it has
came
asphalt,
from your property, Gary,
it has
and monkeys.
contaminants from the road, it runs in it, and it runs on my property, that you say is the block, it blocks it, so I get all the contaminants before the bay, but it's in the bay too.
And we
Don't see
thank you.
bait fishing back in
Thank
my
you.
bay anymore.
Thank you for doing that for us.
Well, we used to eat that dirt when we was kids too. So
Yeah.
we used to eat that dirt when we was youngins.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
My son lives on committee,
Yeah.
okay, and he got a notice to mow his grass. Okay, as Tony just said, that water goes from the front of his house and takes a right towards,
Give their name and
it
address.
backs up
supposed
into
to,
his yard and overflows, cause when they built his home, they built it way too low.
Yep.
So, your new man, code enforcement guy come around there and threatened him with a $1,200 fine and to move his boat. Well, he can't move his boat because he can't even get into his yard right now. He couldn't mow his yard, and he asked them, cause his ditch in front of his house is grass. He wants it that way because he mowed it when he can, cause that keeps from sediment and all that. But they come in there and herbicide it and killed it and makes it even worse. But anyway, the new man needs to kind of take in a little more situation of what's going on around here. I don't even know who it is now. That there's some extenuating circumstances for people that possibly he don't know about. And the city of Parker, somebody, whoever he talked to, argued with him that it went to y'all's new retention pond. Well, it don't go that way. He followed it during rainstorms to see which way to go. But let's be careful with these threatenings, $1,200 fines and all that.
Mayor,
So much
This is
hurt
getting
and
off
stuff like
subject.
that.
If it's a code enforcement issue, it shouldn't be
But he
discussed.
couldn't mow his
So,
grass.
sir, it's a code enforcement issue. It could end up before the magistrate. We shouldn't talk about it at this point.
Okay. Well, they didn't
I'll
do
drive
it.
over there, but I will tell you, this guy does a really good job. He does. I haven't seen your son's yard, but I can tell you a fact. I've owned my house, the second house in Parker. I've owned this one for 24 years, and it never used to flood, and now it does. Last week we had a busted water line, filled my shop up with water. Every time it rains more than 4 inches, it comes within an eighth of an inch of filling up my beautiful home that we worked all of our lives for. You know, and I'm in nobody in this room is in a different boat. You know,
And everything it's on.
and Gary Brandon, he's right. And that damn sediment goes in that ditch. I've stood on Jimmy's dock and looked at the sediment in the water, but you can't just shake a wand and fix it. You got to go through certain steps, you know. And I tease him about his monkeys and stuff like that, but I feel for him. Why should any of you have that experience? But little by little, we're getting it taken care of. I can't speak to what they did before I got here, but now I'm here. I'm trying to fix as much as I possibly can, if that helps you at all. So,
It does. Thank you, sir.
thank you for your
Mr.
time.
Mayor, I hope you see the size of that pond. You should see a significant difference on water going across the property.
And I understand that, and I talked to Bobby about it. I got some dirt from him, and he explained it too. We talked about it, and he said it'll be a significant difference in water crossing the road.
Right, it shouldn't be
The
done.
water should be a lot better.
I told the monkeys too, and they're really happy.
Just for the record, could y'all give your names and addresses?
David Marlowe, 5103 Stratford Avenue. But I was speaking, some of my stuff is in from, comes off Thornton, across in through my yard and
Yeah.
out and about.
Yes, sir. Well, just
Instead-
historically, when somebody speaks in a council
Well, I
meeting,
know, but
we
all
just
of
get.
us being speaking, we couldn't all go up there at one time.
Well, you can. Come on
Well,
down.
I could.
I mean, we'll make time for you. You sir. We're just for the record.
What's your name?
Gentlemen, we need to move on, okay?
And we know Mr. Brannon. So we. He raises monkeys.
So item 4, Mr. Summerlin, auction of your surplus junk
Yeah, there's just
items.
a few items there that we have to declare a surplus because they're on the city's inventory.
Okay.
So before we send it off.
All right, what you got for sale?
It's just actually an old shredder and a couple meter read handhelds.
Okay, sounds good. We got to vote on this.
Yes, sir. To declare it surplus.
Declare it
and
as
authorize
surplus
it to be
item
sold.
and
I'll make
authorize.
that motion.
We got a motion, a second. You call a roll, please.
Miss Barrett?
Yes.
Miss Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chappell?
Yeah.
Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. So the 5th and last item for tonight, I'm going to open the floor to a public hearing. All of you have before you the ordinance that Mr. Sloan's going to read. Is that correct?
Well, yes, sir. It's a little history on that. The city council approved establishing a light manufacturing area in the land development regulations, and upon further research, there were some issues that the city council had expressed concern about, and so these are addressing those areas. And the ordinance has been approved by the planning commission. They had a detailed factual discussion about it, and so it's being presented to you tonight in a public hearing first, and then a request for a first reading of
Motion to
ordinance.
read.
I'm sorry?
We gotta have public hearing.
We gotta have a
Gotta
public hearing.
Oh,
Hold on a second. Okay, open the floor to a public hearing. If anybody would like to come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. By all means, sir.
I'm Paul Palmer, 1135 West Street in Parker. I moved here in 1984 via a 50-foot sailboat that I built. I don't think that was timely for doing
No,
a hearing.
sir. So sorry.
Okay. This is the only home I've ever owned. I am registering my opposition to this amendment. These ordinances are not the result of a careful analysis of how to plan and grow the city of Parker. They are the product of addressing the specific requirements of one landowner whose proposed usage violates the requirements of the current comprehensive plan and LDR. But the changes proposed will affect all of Parker, including future uses of this particular property, unintended consequences that can impact all of Parker. Additionally, there are issues with the notifications for this public hearing. I'd like to point out that the notice does not include the title of the ordinance as required by section 166.0413A and I66, excuse me, 04I3C, Florida statutes. Furthermore, the notice states that the proposed comprehensive plan amendment is available on the front page of the city's website. As of today, right before I came over here, the proposed comprehensive plan amendment was not available on the front page of the city's website. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer, appreciate you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss? Come to the podium if you do, state your name for the record. Name and address, please.
Name's Oliver Canada, 713 Camellia. I'm here to ask the city council for permission to have my boat parked in the front yard.
Sir, this is this is open to the public right now for the subject that matters, not that. Not your boat. We're talking about a change to the city ordinances. So you'll have to come back after this is over to discuss whatever it is you want to talk about.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, sir.
It says here in the letter on the 7th of August, if I don't have all this done, then it's $1,200 a day fine, like that guy was talking about.
Yeah. It's a code issue, sir. Did he give you a court date?
No, he didn't give me a court date, but he gave me a date to have it done by.
Okay.
Is there gonna be a lien to give us
Mr. Sloan.
some time, 60 days or 30 days, whatever what it is, before you
How
have
long
this
how long
other
ago
meeting?
did he give you the first letter of it, the first notification?
Do what now?
Did he notify you? When did he notify you? And why did he ask you to move your boat?
It's parked in the front yard.
Oh, well,
I don't have, there's no way to park it in the side of the house or in the backyard.
okay, well, as it
And
stands
I
right,
understand it's a code now, but if there's gonna be another meeting, I want to know the date of that meeting.
okay, hold on a
And
second.
I don't want no $1,200 fine coming at me out of nowhere.
Okay, this right at this very moment in time, we are discussing a change to the LDR, not your boat, not code enforcement, not anything. So I can't discuss this with you right now because it's not the time or place for that. Does that help you any?
Well, Mayor,
Well,
why
it
can't-
does if you give me a date that they aren't gonna start charging me $1,200
What
a
does the
day,
paper, okay,
starting
all right,
tomorrow.
I will hear it, we'll go ahead and hear it, go ahead. What does it say on your letter? And when did you get it? Go ahead and read it so that everybody can hear it. Can you tell me the date that you received the letter?
It's the letter's dated 24 July, and I probably got it either the 25th or the 26th.
Did you ever get a letter prior to that?
No.
Okay.
Why don't he just come in tomorrow and y'all can discuss it and give him an extension?
I've
or
asked him
something?
that. Would you like to come to the city hall tomorrow? No, we're not doing that.
I've already done that, but I couldn't catch you.
The code enforcement officer needs to be present while we have a conversation, okay? So I'm giving you 30 days. And in that 30 days, we will find a solution. No one's gonna find you for 30 days. Is that fair enough?
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I
Okay.
needed an answer
Will
on
that help you to find, and we will find a solution, whatever it is we need to find in the next 30 days.
Okay, that's what I needed, thank you.
Okay, sir, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll open the floor again. Does anybody want to come to the podium and talk about this, this ordinance? Okay, very good. Close to the public, Mr. Sloan. We need a
Yes,
first
sir,
and a
you
second.
need a motion to.
My motion stands.
I second.
Motion stands?
Yes.
Okay, and a second, you call a roll, please.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Ms. Barrow.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett?
Yes.
Ms. Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2024-421, an ordinance of the city of Parker, Florida, amending the land development regulations of ordinance number 2022-409 as amended to amend certain provisions relating to light manufacturing, providing for severability, providing a mechanism for the correction of scrivener's errors, providing for the liberal construction of this ordinance, providing for a repealer clause, and providing for an effective date. So that will come back before you all at the next meeting.
Okay.
And you have one more, Mayor.
I don't know, I don't have no.
Number 6.
I do. Piece of paper's big. Okay, it's, public hearing, first reading, ordinance 24-424, is that what it is?
So 2024-422.
Forward West two, and this was for,
This ordinance, Mayor, again, is a part of the cleanup on the light manufacturing.
okay, all right. So do we need to have a,
Public hearing,
Huh?
public hearing for that one too?
You have a public hearing on it.
Yep.
This will be a public hearing, and if the council approves it, it will go to Tallahassee, be reviewed, and then depending upon the review, it'll come back before you again.
okay, open the floor. The floor is open to a public hearing on the second ordinance. I assume, Mr. Palmer, you got the same,
Ditto, but I have to go on the record as stating it.
that's like, well, I can't remember everything you said, so tell me again.
Okay, Paul Palmer, 1135 West Street, Parker. I moved here in '84, this via a 50-foot sailboat that I built and sailed with Parker. This is the only home I have ever owned. I'm opposed to this amendment. These ordinances are not the result of a careful analysis of how to plan and grow the city of Parker. They are the product of addressing the specific requirements of one landowner whose proposed usage violates the requirements of the current comp plan and LDR. But the changes proposed will affect all of Parker, including future uses of this particular property. Unintended consequences that impact all of Parker. I can go into some of the consequences, but it's not gonna make any difference to the reading, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Any
You
first
need to
and
close
second?
close the public hearing, Mayor.
Anybody else? Public hearing is closed.
All right, you need a
First and
motion
second.
to
Read.
approve the first reading and authorize the transmission
To
in accordance
Tallahassee.
with law.
Yeah,
I'll make that motion.
we got a first,
Second.
we got a second. Call the roll, please.
Miss Barrett? Yes. Miss Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Mr. Haney?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2024-422, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan of the city of Parker, specifically to clarify allowable uses in a commercial land use district and revise the goals, objectives, and policies of the various elements, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. That's it, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Chappell, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, other than the, putting the signed, the plates up. I'm supposed to be picking them up Thursday, and I'll give them to Tony, probably Friday. So sometime in the next, few days, there'll be more plates up on the,
Very good.
on the wall.
Mr. Haney, do you have anything, sir?
I did try to contact, I'm sorry,
It's all right.
the, Florida Wildlife Commission.
Yes.
I was not able to get an answer back. I don't know if Chief Hutto had a chance to contact about the growth of hydrilla and.
It's gone. It's all gone.
Well, it's reduced, but it's not near as much as what it should be.
Okay.
It seems like they did take care of some of it, but water level has risen, so you can't see as much of it.
Well, contrary to what most people believe, that is not correct because the lake can't go over a certain height. It can go lower, but it can only go as high as the weir, the low head dam. That's controlled by NOAA. So I went down there, I think last Wednesday we went and took a look, and it was almost all gone. Now, I don't know what makes it come and go, but as it stands right now, Chief, did you have a chance to see Fish and Wildlife?
Yes, I spoke with Lieutenant Allen with FWC.
Right.
And prior to me speaking with them, they had a group or something, and they came out with an airboat.
Awesome.
And they went around the lake, and so it's believed that they did treat for that product, or that plant, and so that's kind of where he left off with that.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Barrow?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. Mr. Chapel talking about the thing out here for the
Memorial?
veterans thing. Whenever it was all talked about and done, couple people wanted to donate money to it, and one did, and the other one backed out. And I was kind of a thing because we're kind of being told what we could do with the money or how they wanted it, who wanted it spent. And I was going to ask the council about giving the money back, but I would, instead of doing that, I would like the council for us to be very careful of anybody else that wants to donate money to something in Parker, and how it's done, because I don't want no more issues coming up like were before or over this thing out here. Because, you know, they get on social media and they say things that, you know, most of the time, most of it's not true, but you got, I just don't like it the way it was done. And from now on, I just would like us to be very careful how we accept money for things that are being done in Parker.
Very good.
And the other thing is, I would like to know, if someone's suing the city over a certain thing, should they be discussing it in the council meeting under public hearing and all that?
Well, if you're, in general terms, if the city has a public hearing, anybody is entitled to speak. I would caution the city council in responding to anyone that may have a lawsuit against the city, that they're entitled to speak.
Okay.
Was that it? Thank you. Got something?
Y'all wish me luck.
It's a big day Saturday.
It is. Don't do it.
I'm gonna streak it.
Are you going?
I'm gonna streak it. Just kidding.
It's worth going just to see that. There was something we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we need a couple of things. We
Yeah,
need to
go
set
ahead.
some dates. Suzanne would like to have a budget workshop on the 15th at 9 o'clock, if everybody can make it.
When?
The 15th.
Are you going on a honeymoon?
15th. What day is that?
It's a Thursday. It's next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday.
You got a time?
9 a.m.
That's early.
It is bright and early for a workshop.
And I run a business by myself. It's hard.
You're not gonna like me.
I'll get you coffee.
At what time?
Thanks.
9.
What would be better for you?
Monday through Wednesday. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yep.
That was just when Suzanne's available.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's the auditor's
That's the budget.
availability.
That's the budget.
It's the budget workshop.
Okay. 15th.
Okay.
8 a.m. 9 a.m.
Okay.
And also, clerk interviews.
Yep. Council, we'd like you to pick a day that we can conduct the first 5 interviews for city clerk. We had quite a few applications. I gave them to you. You guys picked 10 each. We went through those applications and we found ones that everybody liked, which some of them you guys liked everybody. We've had one person call and say they wanted to rescind it, and we've accommodated that. But we have 5 very qualified people that I'd like for you guys to interview. But we need a date and a time. I think we can do them in 30-minute increments. If we started at 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, and be done by lunchtime. Would that be something that's good for everybody? Or is it too early in the day? Would you rather do it at 3, 3:30, 4, 4:30, 5, like that?
I'm all about late afternoon because I'm not a morning person, to be honest with you.
Okay. The only thing is,
You think I'm grumpy now? I'm grumpier in the morning.
yeah, I can't go past 4:30 because the city clerk and the employees have to go home.
Understood.
So pick me a time. 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock.
He's talking about a 1
30-minute
o'clock interview
increments.
at 1:30.
I can do 1 o'clock.
Okay.
What day would we like to do that?
We could do.
Not next week, because after the marriage would be okay, right? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sorry. y'all killing me.
You still hung up on me streaking it, ain't you?
Well, I don't get a honeymoon, so
I can imagine.
I'm kind of mad.
You should go on a honeymoon,
I can't.
even if not with
I
Chuck.
run a business. I can't.
Okay. So tell me a day.
So you wanna just blow that Thursday and make it the budget that whole day? I'm just kidding.
Monday.
You're already blowing the day. Monday? I like it. The 12th? No, that's shut off day now.
Not a fan of Mondays either, but I mean, we can make it happen if you want to.
No, really, it is shut off day.
Gotcha.
We can't do that.
I can do any day but the 13th.
Let's do the 13th.
It's
Cannot
planning.
do the 13th.
That's planning too that day.
Yeah, I can do the 14th.
14th?
If that's good for you, you guys.
That's
14th good?
14th sounds good to me.
At 1 o'clock?
That's when they'll start. There'll be 5.
And we'll do them in 30-minute increments.
I just need to have
What
my
day
help
is
that I
that?
have this week.
It's
to
a
make sure
Wednesday?
full the
That's
next
on the
week.
14th.
It's the 14th, Ron.
That's gonna be on like a Tuesday. I
That's a
think?
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday?
Mhm.
Can I, step out to my truck and get my calendar? 'Cause
Sure.
I've got some, doctor's appointments sometimes.
Okay.
Wednesday is normally my doctor's days.
Okay. Everybody talk amongst themselves.
Hey, can I mention something?
I would like to mention something as well.
Okay, well, since I started, I'll do it first.
You've had 2 chances already.
Please come.
The hospital that Bill Libby's in is Sacred Heart
He's at Sacred Heart.
in Pensacola.
Yeah.
And then the second one is, when we originally did the park out there, our little park, we,
Memorial Park.
the Memorial Park right here, we were allowed to buy lamps which had little plates, like name plates, and I had bought one for commemorating Winnie Davis and her contribution to the community. Whatever happened to that? I was just curious there.
Mr. Summerlin.
Hurricane Michael.
Did any of the name plates get resolved or saved? Okay.
We had plates on the benches and we had plates on the lamps.
Yep.
And there wasn't, even the ones that we did find where you were scratched up so bad or bent.
Okay. You guys were talking
Okay,
about other
you got it.
All right, so I would like to let everyone know that, the big red bus is coming to Parker VFW Post 8205 on Thursday, August 15th, Anna Marie Morris, 129 North Lakewood. From
Right.
2 to 6. So you can go online and schedule an appointment. We are in a worldwide crisis for blood. Not just Florida, this is a worldwide, but they're asking for Florida. So donate blood if you can on the 15th of August at the VFW Post 8205.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Chappell, we need to move on. What date do we got, ma'am?
The 14th for interviews and the 15th for the budget.
The 14th and the 15th. Ron, what you got?
Okay, the 14th is a good day. After 11 o'clock, I got a doctor's appointment on the 15th. So anytime after.
What time do you think it'll be over?
Well, that's 9 a.m.
Well, it's at 9. It should
9.
be over by maybe.
No, never be done. Just gotta drive there. Okay.
I don't know what to do about Suzanne.
Yeah, no, we have to fit this in with the auditor, so it may be that you can't be here for the interviews.
No, that's
No,
not.
No, it's the budget
The
workshop.
budget workshop.
The budget.
God, you got me confused through that.
You might be able to be here for an hour.
Yeah, he
You
can,
might stay for an hour, Ron, but
Yeah.
it ain't gonna take that long because it's all done. All we gotta do is read it line by line.
Okay, the budget's gonna be at 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yep.
yes, on the
Okay, that's
15th.
2 hours.
Okay.
I mean, anytime you go to the doctor's office,
never
you always
on
gotta
time
wait
anyway.
an hour anyway
Yep.
to get in there, so.
Okay.
Okay. Good deal.
Will that work? Okay, thank you, everybody. Mr. Sloan, anything, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, very good.